Howdy, this is Brian. I'm here, and you can make me co-host whenever it's convenient. So fast.
Thank you, Brian. my participants panel is not showing everybody, and I was thinking it was Gwen because of A and F, and so I was confused. So thank you for the little prod. I appreciate it.
Oh, no worries. That was a lightning response.
That's right. Well, nothing but good service. What can we say? And Brian, when it's time, everything on the system side is a go.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yes.
Okay, it is 1:45 and I understand the system is ready to go. So with that, I am happy to call Budget Committee of the Whole to order for today, Wednesday, June 23rd. We continue to meet virtually until our hybrid meeting setup is ready to go, coming pretty soon here. If you're participating in the meeting via Zoom, you can raise and lower your hand as a participant. You can also click more if you're on a iPhone or Android phone. And if you're dialing in, you can use *9 to raise or lower your hand. And as always, we have the City Council voicemail number 552-6012 and email. Both of those go to all council members. Go ahead and take down that slide. Thanks. First item is roll. If you wouldn't mind calling that. And I know Heather Harp is definitely out. We may have some other people not able to attend.
All right, thank you. Stacy Anderson. Let's see, looks like Stacy out. Mirta Becerra.
Present.
Don Contos.
Here.
Jordan Hess.
Here.
Gwen Jones.
Here.
Julie Merritt.
Present. And I'll get my camera on in just a minute, guys.
Jesse Ramos. Looks like he's absent. Amber Sherrill.
Present.
Sandra Visica.
Present.
Brian Van Mosper.
Here.
Heidi West. It looks like Heidi is absent. So there are 9 council members present.
And actually, I just saw that Jesse and Heidi have just joined.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. I will adjust that right now.
Great, thanks. And we should make special note of Sandra's special guest.
I see that.
We have minutes to approve for March 24th and March 31st. Are there any changes to those minutes? Seeing none, those will stand approved. And is there any public comment on items not on our agenda today? We have one agenda item with regard to the strategic priorities, but is there any public comment on non-agenda items? Seeing none, we'll move to our one agenda item. And Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to turn it over to you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, council members. So last week you were updated by staff on our resident survey, which helps inform our budget process in a number of ways, and also informs our strategic plan. So what we're presenting to you today is a series of bullets that outline my priorities based on that strategic plan and based on what we've heard from residents as we move forward, both in terms of work plan and in budget for fiscal year 22. A couple of quick notes. One is the strategic plan itself has not changed, and that plan was drafted along with City Council and approved. And we are really just again marching down the path of a work plan and establishing a budget that supports that work and these goals. The list is not all inclusive. It suggests, however, priorities and the places where we would like to lean in the hardest. Does not preclude us seizing opportunities as they present themselves, and regrouping. And there is certainly fluidity and flexibility here. It is also does not take into account any priorities that you might have apart from these or within these. And that's why we're presenting this to you today in advance of budget preparation, so that you can think about and add or subtract based on your priorities as you think about the budget. But I think we're generally in line here based on my conversations with you over the course of time, and staff has vetted these and is on board as well. So as you'll recall, we have key areas in our strategic plan, and in each of those, we've offered a bullet or two, in some cases more, so that we can take care of some specific goals associated with that planning document. These are also in no particular order. So our first category here is organizational excellence, and under that category, our
Mayor,
hope.
could I apologize. I am not seeing the document. I just want to orient folks. I'm not sure it is on the list, or if my computer, if it hasn't updated to show the attachment. And I'm wondering if
Brian, Jessica just emailed it out to everyone on Group City
got it.
Council.
I am
Check
not
your
skilled
email.
enough on
Councilman, we had submitted it to upload to the agenda. I just noticed it was not up there. We will get it placed on there as soon as possible. If you like, I can share my screen and throw the document up if that would be.
That's what I was just going to suggest. Maybe as the mayor talks to it, if we could share screen, that would be great. Sorry to interrupt, Mayor.
Not at all. Thank you. And Dale, yeah, if you can share, that would be terrific. I think it would make things easier for everyone.
A moment.
You'll see on that document also a little reminder of our mission and vision, which we thought was important in including, both to refresh your collective memory and that of the residents we serve, and frankly mine. Sometimes those details get lost over time, and it's been a while since we actually created that mission and vision, but I believe that they are as relevant today, and in some cases maybe more so than they were when council and staff and I agreed on those statements. So again, beginning with those key priorities in the organizational excellence bucket, our goal is to build a comprehensive plan to address systemic racism and inequality that may be embedded within city policies, procedures, and systems. I think what I'll do is kind of go through all of these, and then I can kind of respond to your questions or add some muscle to the skeleton, as it were, with regard to all of these bullets. Another goal is to implement new technology to improve collaboration, communication, and project management. Modernize our communications approach, and I will pause here and add a little more detail there. Those of you who have served on council for some period of time, or have been in public service and local government, recognize the remarkable change in what it means for local government to communicate to residents. You know, when I started this job, we had something called mainstream media, and mainstream media had an audience that was broad and general. Mainstream media has either declined or eroded, and in many cases simply isn't a source of information for many of the folks we serve. So we've had to think really broadly about how we address that, and there are a number of solutions out there, but what we know is that what we're doing today is outmoded, and never contemplated kind of the media environment we're in now, particularly the social media environment. So we need to modernize our approach to all of this. The strategies that we're deploying today aren't anybody's fault, and everybody's working really hard. But we need a more sophisticated approach, and we need more resources in order to provide the information for critical public engagement and awareness. The final bullet here is to plan for the city government's capacity and infrastructure needs through a facilities master plan. And you heard earlier during your committee meetings this morning about a key component of that, and that is the Missoula Federal Building. Housing is a critical issue, as expressed very clearly and statistically in our resident survey, and anecdotally every day in our daily lives, both professionally and personally. We all know that housing is an issue, and our goals continue to be to address those in the most practical ways that we possibly can. One of those methods is to purchase land and partner with the private sector on new development models. You've seen one of those deployed on the ground today in the form of our Scott Street project. And our hope is that you will see more of those based on some land that is currently in city ownership, and the success of what we're doing at Scott Street. We'd like to also figure out new ways to provide incentives for the creation of affordable homes in our communities. And there are a number of ideas that we can steal elsewhere and deploy here. And I suspect that we can come up with some of our own as well. And finally, in this bucket is to innovate and align the city's regulatory codes to better support our housing goals. And there is a clear disconnect there, almost from soup to nuts, but the most glaring disconnect is between our growth policy as expressed in our land use map and our zoning designations that are part of our zoning ordinance. They don't align, and that creates tension, unpredictability, and stress for the building community, for residents, and certainly for decision makers like you and me. In the community safety and wellness arena, we intend to support policing practices that result in the best service to our community and that prioritize professionalism, accountability, and efficiency. And you've seen that work in progress, and that work will continue. Your investment in fiscal year 21 in training police officers is showing results on the ground today. We've gone through de-escalation, we've gone through extensive crisis intervention training, and there's more to come. And that investment will continue in this budget, and will go a long way as we work to accomplish this goal. Another piece of business that tells me that we're on track is the annual report that Chief Jason White prepared and presented to the community a few weeks ago. And I know you'll be hearing more about that in your Public Safety and Health Committee in weeks to come. But in the meantime, this is a priority, and none of these goals are mutually exclusive of others, right? So there's clearly a communications component here. I think there is clearly an organizational excellence component here. There's an equity component here. So much of what you see in terms of these priorities can live in more than one of these categories. We intend to invest in community services that support working families and provide a place for connection, including the expansion of our child care programs and community centers. And you're aware of the work that we've done through our Parks and Recreation Department to support kiddos and their families through our base camp program, through the work that we're doing in Lowell School. And we recognize that the success of those programs suggests that we ought to do more of them and provide more of that service. And we're also continuing our conversations around a community center writ large, and also creating opportunities in neighborhoods for folks to gather in a place that's safe, and that everyone can access regardless of income. We are continuing our investment in programs to serve our most vulnerable residents, including the creation of a homeless navigation center and the expansion of our mobile support team. What we intend to do as a function of bringing you an executive budget this year is rather than present you piecemeal with programs we're supporting, we want to demonstrate a broad investment that creates collective impact in this arena, and also enhance existing programs and expand other programs, or in some cases, tip up new programs. In the built and natural environment, pardon me, arena, we intend to continue our investment in infrastructure in the subtepplain area through the successful implementation of the BUILD grant. We certainly want to complete that Rattlesnake Dam restoration project. Likely our most popular trail in the community, Waterworks Hill, will have a parking lot with great universal access, and we'll do trail improvements throughout the community while supporting our parks and trails infrastructure projects. And you'll see all of those as a function not only of the budget, but our community improvement program. We're also interested as a priority in implementing the neighborhood traffic management program. That is a product of extensive study and analysis throughout the community, and will help us prioritize investments in safety, accessibility, and alternative modes of transportation. So within each of these bullets is a lot of ambition. Sorry, I've got some renovation going on here. There is a lot of ambition, but that's coupled with practicality. We believe that we can accomplish most of these goals within the fiscal year, and more. Again, we believe that we need to be careful about creating a zero-sum environment where we say we can only do one or two things. We think we can do more than one thing at once, and we think we can do those things well. And then we think the expectation of the residents we serve is that we do that as well. So with that, I am happy to begin a conversation with the chair's indulgence and answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mayor. I would gladly invite people to queue up with questions, comments, etc. Sandra.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Mayor, for that wonderful presentation. I am curious, though, under the introduction of your City of Missoula strategic plan, it says under the guidance of our Missoula Mayor, John Engen, and the Missoula City Council. I know that I've been a little bit out of commission because I just had a baby, but I don't remember being a part of any roundtable discussions about this Missoula strategic plan. So did I miss out on something, or how did that work?
You did not. This is the beginning of that discussion. So our internal team has been working on this extensively, and not without some feedback from all of you, and certainly what I think is an understanding of some of your priorities. But this is the administrative set of priorities based on our collective strategic plan. And again, you have some opportunity to add and subtract. The other thing that we, just as a function of time and capacity this year, we were not able to put together our regular council administration and staff conversation in advance of this presentation. But that doesn't mean that opportunities for those discussions don't exist today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And good question, Sandra, and thank you, Mayor. And I think also part of this may be, and I see Dale's hands up and he might speak to it, the strategic, get my language right, strategic plan document 2020 to 2023 is posted, and if, as I recall, is a product of getting together in pre-pandemic times, and also would have been before I think some of like Sandra and John started to serve on council. And we have not, I don't think, revisited that. And then this priorities list that we were just going through is an outgrowth from that. Dale, were you going to speak to that?
Yes, I was just going to say exactly what you did. Our current citywide strategic plan covers FY20 through 23. This prioritization list is intended to be the priorities to set the stage for the FY22 budget. I think we look at the strategic plan every year, like we're doing with these priorities, and we did a similar thing last year. Because of the longer view of the strategic plan, we don't revisit it because it takes multiple years to implement the items in the strategic plan.
Thanks. Let's see, Amber.
Thanks, and I'm excited to kind of get this going and start looking at it. I really like the priorities. I like the expansion of the mobile crisis unit and the housing navigation center. I think those are going to be critical as we look at some of the expected numbers for homelessness and as we come out of COVID. So I'm really excited about that. The communications piece, I think, is just going to be critical. So I am wondering, just looking at this, and I realize that these are priorities, like how are we going to be kind of prioritizing becoming carbon neutral? Where will that be reflected, I guess, is my question.
So, I'm not muted for a change. So I don't think we're going to become carbon neutral within the next fiscal year. But that does not mean, and again, I don't want to suggest that these priorities are exclusive of anything else that's identified in our strategic plan or in any of our planning documents or policies. What I know about our efforts with regard to climate is that we've got some new staff, and I think, Councilwoman, some new opportunities to look at those plans and our goals for implementation, and likely bring some of those to you throughout the fiscal year. And then I think continue to lean hard into analyzing whether those big, hairy, audacious goals are achievable. And if they're not, do we need to have a conversation with you all in the community about how we make adjustments accordingly? So again, none of these priorities mean that anything that's not bulleted has fallen off the chart or the radar. And the way we're describing it to staff is that you have day-to-day tasks, you have work plans that are in place, and all of that work is intended to continue. From my perspective, there are some new initiatives here and some opportunity to apply more resources or redirect resources to get some of these key things done, in addition to that ongoing work in implementing our policies and plans citywide.
Thank you. It'd be really nice if we could be carbon neutral. And then
Totally agree.
I was hoping that's what you were going to say. Thank you.
Gwen.
Thanks for all of the information, Mayor Engen. I appreciate it. And it's all good stuff. It's just hard because there's more good stuff too. So how do we navigate this? And I guess I have kind of a broader question looking at the next couple months ahead of us. And that is, are you able to speak to how the ARPA funds, how that process will unfold? Because that is part of this equation. Last year, we kind of had an outlier budget season because we had CARES funds money. This year, we've got ARPA, which is a good problem to have, but it does impact the equation. And when will we have clarity, and how are we going to approach all of it? If you can speak to that.
Sure. So our approach to deploying American Rescue Plan dollars has been to assign an internal team and also convene an external team of folks who are receiving those funds as well, whether it's University School District, Missoula County, and anyone else who is receiving significant funding through ARPA, and is in a position to have a conversation with us. The internal team really has been looking at federal guidance, which has been relatively slow to hit the ground, and does continue to evolve as communities like ours around the nation are experiencing are living with questions around deployment. That internal team will provide some advice to the managing team around those sideboards, and they'll also be looking for ways to leverage those dollars so that this one-time money has significant impact one time, and if possible has ongoing impact. Dale will tell you that I have spent the ARPA money 4 times over, maybe more than that. And he is correct about that. But we just got new requests in the door last week, and the team has begun reviewing those new requests. They'll certainly be incorporated in what we believe the budget picture will be. We'll be doing some. Certainly be doing some gazing into a crystal ball with regard to revenues beyond ARPA. But my hope is that we can maximize this one-time money, which for us will sort of be two-time money, right? So we got a little north of $7 million in the bank today as a function of the rescue plan. We'll get another $7+ million next year. A lot of what we'll be doing is shoring up the budget for fiscal year 22. Because of the structural imbalance that you're all aware of, and when revenues and expenses don't meet, you have a couple of choices. What I hear from residents constantly is we want more, and our hope is to provide more without affecting our mill levies. So ARPA is a critical component of some of these programs, the stuff that we've never done before, or the stuff that we've piloted. For example, the mobile support team. ARPA money provides us with an opportunity to think much longer term in those regards, and think about expanding in ways that we might not otherwise have been able to think, or expand more quickly than we had anticipated. We're entering into lines of business really by necessity, and you've all heard me say this before, but really by necessity, we're entering into these lines of business that we've never been in before, and that ranges from behavioral health services to redefining daycare. We've actually been in the daycare business for a long time through our Parks and Rec program. We've just never thought of it or defined it necessarily that way for you, for ourselves, or for residents. And we believe that we have a critical foothold there, and a real opportunity to serve the community and take care of kids and families on a much broader scale. So those are just a couple of examples. And then there's absolutely meat and potatoes stuff that we'll be doing with ARPA funding, including public safety personnel salaries are eligible through ARPA, and we're going to take advantage of that as well. We'll also have separate from our direct allocation, we'll also have access to ARPA funds for infrastructure, particularly in the utility arena, so water, wastewater and stormwater, and we'll take advantage of that as well. And we're likely to see some additional transportation funding. So all those pieces are coming together, and we'll have a much clearer picture here over the course of the next couple of weeks. And our intention is to bring you the second week of July an executive budget letter that will begin what we think is a meaningful conversation that'll get us to a place in August where we can adopt something that'll serve the community well.
Thank you.
Jordan.
Thanks. Thanks, Mayor. This is a really exciting list of priorities, and I think it reflects building on some good foundations that we've got right now, and seizing a lot of opportunities that are coming our way. One suggestion, I guess, is that I think there's a lot of good work in here around environment and sustainability and climate and conservation. And I think there's maybe an opportunity to articulate those as a group, whether it's work around the Rattlesnake Dam or the neighborhood traffic management program. Those to me all have a climate impact and a sustainability impact. And it might be worth structuring a bullet point around what we're doing from a climate standpoint.
Appreciate that.
Thanks. Not seeing others queued up. I'll chime in with a few thoughts. First and foremost, really appreciate seeing the list. Great agreement with 99% of what I see on there. It's thoughtful, necessary for the community. Three things I would mention. One, simply because as a former project manager, I can't avoid being too down in the weeds. And I think alongside the investment in technology for our project management activities, there's an even more important investment. And I think we do this, I just don't think it's articulated on the page, in training in project management skills. Technology is important. It is no substitute for good training in project management best practices and such. And again, not that I don't think we do this, I just think it's worth articulating alongside the investment in technology. Secondly, I am really grateful to see the highlight around communications. This has been an important and robust discussion, as you alluded to, Mayor, particularly among those both in the administration and on council who have served for some time. And I think you articulated very well the challenges we face, both from the administration and council standpoint in this era. I was going to call it a new era. It's no longer new. But we've got the benefit now of seeing over some time frame now how things have changed with resources in local media and many other things that I won't drone on about. So suffice to say, I think that investments in our communications approach writ large is a really important thing to pursue. It's good government, it's good for our constituents. Communications is the linchpin sort of underneath all of it. So appreciate seeing that. And then lastly, really just to piggyback on, I think, Amber's comments and Jordan's, no secret, I'm particularly passionate, as others are, both on this council and in the community, around sustainability and climate. We have really good, thoughtful plans and visions in this area that are contemplated and articulated in the strategic plan. And I know that you mentioned that those things are still there, and it's been an excellent collaboration, council, the community, and the administration on those things. I think that there are items that certainly, were I writing the document, relative to an overdue update on our municipal operations, the work around climate adaptation, and collaboration and work we're doing on 100% clean electricity. I think would merit being on there as well. And perhaps Jordan's suggestion is a good one on that front. And I recognize that it's not that we're doing that work. I just noted, sustainability and climate aren't articulated there. And I think it's important work that we're poised to do there and will be doing. Energy performance contracting is another one within this fiscal year that I think is an important one for us to be looking at. So, but all said, I'm grateful for what I see there, and I think it sets us up well going into budget.
Well, thank you. So this is a guidepost document, right? And so I have taken notes, and I'm more than happy. And I know staff will be happy as well to incorporate your suggestions as we move forward, because this is a collaborative effort all day long. And recognizing that we certainly don't want to de-emphasize sustainability and climate, and what I'm hearing resonates. And so I think we'll add some language that as a guiding document keeps us in a place where we're being guided pretty regularly and reminded this document is meant to tickle us all day long to accomplish these goals. So we'll add those to the ticklers.
Thanks. I appreciate that. And I see your hand up, Sandra. I was going to mention that it is unfortunately timely, perhaps, that we are heading into a heat wave in the Western United States, coupled with a drought of epic proportions. We have been somewhat less impacted here just locally in Missoula, though certainly statewide it's been a greater issue. And reading some of the information about this temperature event at this time of the year being not just unusual but unprecedented in history makes me grateful that the community has approached things. And I will confess, we've often talked about greenhouse gas emissions, and I think adaptation has been a theme that has emerged more as we've recognized sort of the trajectory we're on. And we do a lot of thoughtful planning around community centers, for instance, and safe space. And we take into account now things like temperature and smoke and those sorts of issues, and the equity component of those. So anyway, grateful for your response. And Sandra.
Thank you. I would be remiss. You guys mentioned some things that were important to you, so I need to explain some things that are important to me, especially in my ward. I really love all the strategic goals. I would like to see infrastructure higher on the list. I know that in my ward, especially on Davis Street and on River Road, a lot of kids are walking on the street to go to their bus stops. They're walking home on the street. So we need more sidewalks and more infrastructure, especially in Ward 6. So I would like to see more infrastructure higher up on the list. I know that sustainability and energy and conservation is high up on Missoula's plan. However, I think that streets and sidewalks should be higher up on the list. So I just wanted to let everyone know that a lot of folks in my ward have been reaching out to me about their concerns about their children and about their sidewalks and their safety. So I just thought that I would let everyone know that that is very high up on my list on the next couple of years plan. Thanks.
Mirta and then Julie.
Thank you. I too want to thank staff and the mayor for this comprehensive list of priorities. I think they reflect what our needs and our priorities as residents of Missoula have. I would like to see somewhere either under organizational excellence, or perhaps invest in community safety and wellness, a way for better participation, not just better communication to our constituents. I would like to see us working on finding ways to provide better venues for public engagement, whether that's through the neighborhood's office or each department, I don't know, but I think that it's a two-way street. So I think it would be really important for us to provide those resources. Other than that, I think it looks really good, and I really appreciate having the Mullen area and Setupkin area as an area of emphasis for investment, so that we can expand our infrastructure and complement and support the build grant. Thank you.
Julie.
Thanks. I do really appreciate the bullet point about modernizing our communications approach, and then definitely would echo what Mirta just said, is that it's about getting that feedback from the community too, and recognizing that that is difficult. That's something that's way easier said than done. So appreciate having that as an important part of our guiding documents. I would also echo Sandra's concerns about infrastructure in Ward 6. It has been something that has been on the radar screen of our transportation folks for the entire time that I've been on council. And I hope that it remains there, and we'll maybe see a larger increase, but those things cost money. And so you have to be willing to vote for them when it comes to spending money on them, because sidewalks and trails that provide safe places for our children to get to school and to parks and to their homes, it's expensive.
Thanks, Julie. I don't see any additional hands up. I'm happy to go to public comment. If anyone attending the meeting has any public comment, feel free to raise your hand. Not seeing any at this time. Mayor, thank you very much. Any closing thoughts or remarks?
Really appreciate your time today, and the feedback that you provided, and we'll do some incorporation as we move forward with this guiding document. If other things occur to you, and I suspect some will, and I think we'll probably see some as we march through the budget process, we'll see some things that we missed. And again, we're not afraid of being flexible with regard to adding or subtracting or reprioritizing as necessary. One of the things that this document does for me and for staff is helps get us out of the business of pursuing whatever shiny object is most recently presented to us. This is a way to sort of filter those distractions, some of which may not be distractions. They may actually be new priorities. But in some cases, this helps us keep focused, keep our eyes on the ball, as it were, and move things along.
And I will also make sure that the agenda reflects the document. I apologize for the confusion on that.
No worries. Thank you. Great. I don't see anybody else queued up. Thank you, Mayor, Dale, others in attendance. And with that, I think we'll be adjourned.
Thank you all.